Hello, everybody. It's Darryl Kinsey Jr. welcoming you to Apex Asphalt for April 13th, 2026. It's another slowish week in motorsports. Not a lot on track right now. We only had the WRC, Supercross, NHRA, Supercars, and NASCAR, which, now that I read that, is like 5. It's actually quite a bit. But the meat and potatoes of the show, of course, we'll be looking at the Monster Energy Supercross 450 point standings. After a decent race at Bristol, which brought some controversy from fans, we asked the question, is the racing at modern Bristol actually good right now? Formula One is off for week 2, and while not as drama-filled as week 1, it certainly didn't disappoint. Repco Supercars set the standard for how to manage inclement weather. We waved the checkered flag on last week by picking the drivers of the week, and we open up the calendar to let you know where the green flags will be waving this week. Christopher Lehman is here with me, and we'll start the show right after we pay some bills. So sit tight. We'll be right back with the start after this.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back. It's Darryl and Chris here with you on this evening's edition of Apex Asphalt. And of course, we're going to get started with the weekend review. And we will start in the world of rally. In the World Rallycross, Thierry Neuville was leading the Croatia rally by over a minute and had the rally completely under control, but clipped a concrete block with just a few kilometers to go, destroying the right front suspension and his chance at victory. Takamoto Katsuda gets his second career win in as many events and becomes the first Japanese driver to lead the WRC standings.
And there must have been something strange in the Nashville water for championship contenders in Monster Energy Supercross. In 250 East, Cole Davies picks up his 4th win of the season, but championship rival Seth Hammaker has a weekend to forget. Hammaker crashed twice, and despite finishing on the podium, received a 2-position course-cutting penalty that stripped him of that podium finish. In 450, the top 3 were separated by just 5 points coming into Nashville. Hunter Lawrence wins, while Eli Tomac and Ken Roxon have an off day, my apologies.
In the National Hot Rod Association, rain and rear-end grease could not stop the NHRA Winter Nationals in the spring in Pomona. In Top Fuel, Tony Stewart took down Justin Ashley, while in the 1,000th funny car race, Matt Hagan wins the race over Ron Capps, and in Pro Stock, Greg Anderson drove around Dallas Glen for the win in Pomona.
And Supercars' highly anticipated return to the track after nearly a month off was cut short by a devastating storm named Cyclone Vaianu. Cyclone Vaianu made landfall on Sunday and dropped nearly 8 inches of rain in the Bay of Plenty area of New Zealand's North Island. Thankfully, there are no casualties reported, but cleanup efforts only began just a few hours ago as Monday saw multiple storm fronts bring in additional rain. It's currently noon on Tuesday in New Zealand, so we will be refreshing our feeds throughout the show to check for additional updates. Both races scheduled for Saturday went on as scheduled. Brody Kostecki won his 4th race of the season, and Ryan Wood picks up his 2nd career win and the first for Toyota as a manufacturer since joining the series this season.
And finally, in NASCAR, the top 3 series were in Bristol, where Christopher Bell reigned supreme in the Craftsman Truck Series. Connor Zillage took the win in the NASCAR Raleigh Auto Parts Series, and Ty Gibbs finally breaks through for career win number 1 in the Cup Series race on Sunday. And if you are watching on X or YouTube, drop us a comment or question, and we will respond in real time as the show is going on. And that'll be the first time and probably the last time you'll ever hear me refer to it as X, Twitter for life over here. Anyway, it's time to get into the Monster Energy Supercross and discuss the 450 and 250 point standings heading into this week. There are 4 rounds left in the season. And 250 is easy, Chris. Hayden Deegan already won the 250 West Championship, and Cole Davies has already clinched 250 East.
He's all but clinched.
All but clinched 250 East, sorry.
I'll have to make the fonts a little bigger next week. Cole Davies wins, extends his point lead out, especially over Seth Hamaker, who had a no good, terrible, bad day, or whatever that book is. And then, with the 450s, I mean, Hunter Lawrence and Ken Roczen were sharing red plates coming into the race, and Hunter Lawrence emerges victorious at the end. So there was something weird in Nashville this past weekend.
Well, it makes it fun for us because the 450s are going to have a great battle to the end. And with all 3 of these guys running at such a high level between Hunter Lawrence, Ken Roczen, and Eli Tomac, because currently Lawrence has a 10-point lead over Roczen and 15 over Eli. There is really no consensus pick on social media on who's going to be this champion. And with how close they've been running, mistakes can happen. So this championship is going to swing between the 3 of them a couple of times in the next 4 races. And if they can keep this up in the indoor season, can you see how the outdoor schedule is going to go with all 3 of them riding at a high level?
It's going to be exciting, and it will be a fun reset.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So let's look at what is up next for Monster Energy Supercross, try to handicap where these guys are going to go for the rest of the year. So the schedule for Monster Energy for the remaining season looks like this. We will be going to Cleveland this Saturday.
Triple header. Or triple crown, my apologies.
That's a triple crown. It's going to be 3 main events. Going to be a challenge for all the riders. Then we go to Philadelphia. Then that'll be on April 25th. On May 2nd, they'll be going to Denver. And they'll be wrapping up the season in Salt Lake City, Utah. And we will have a final East-West showdown. Our last showdown with Cole Davies and Hayden Deegan on 250s before Hayden moves to the 450s as we go outside. And it is going to be a battle through all 3 races. And I really think it's going to come down to Salt Lake City at this point, because I don't think, just because of how well all 3 of them are riding, no one really has the ability to pull away from the other. Because Hunter Lawrence, we thought was going to run away with it. He had trouble in the early season. Eli Tomac then got hot. Then he cooled off. Ken Roczen then blasted onto the scene. And now it's 3 riders dueling for it here at the end.
Yeah, and with only 4 races to go. And, I wouldn't say that anybody's hot right now, but after this past week, it was I would not want to be Roczen or Tomac. But they are both obviously very accomplished riders who are more than capable of bouncing back and finishing out the season strong. So, and then you got Cooper Webb, who's actually not mathematically out, but is effectively out. It's going to be a really fun ride to the end of the season.
Mm-hmm. And we roll on to, and of course we went over the 250s. It's going to be a lot of fun. So you don't want to miss this. It's going to be on Peacock for the rest of the way. And if you've already got Peacock for IMSA, you can check out the ending of the Supercross season, which is going to be electric. And then we move outside for the Pro Motocross season. Hayden Deegan gets his first taste of the 450s, and we'll talk about that as we get closer. And we'll move into NASCAR now, where we're going to talk a little bit about Bristol after Ty Gibbs picks up the win on Sunday. And as we said, Christopher Bell won on Friday and Connor Zilic on Saturday. And it's another Bristol where actually I'll split into thirds. Because of the winner, a third of the fan base thinks it's the best race ever. There's a third in the middle that thinks it was a pretty good race. And then there's a third that hated and NASCAR's stupid and they shouldn't have reprofiled the track and da-da-da-da-da-da. We can go down that road forever. And Chris, I feel like ever since Bristol originally put the progressive banking in for reasons known only to themselves, they have been trying to get old Bristol back. When it was one groove, you knocked people out the way and people's hair was on fire and everybody was pissed at each other. It sort of came back on Sunday. We did have the 35 and the 8 run into each other. That was for 30th, but Kyle Busch and Riley Herbst got into it. There was some tire wear that you had to manage with the 700 horsepower. Everybody was fighting for grip. But it seems like with Bristol, unless there's a billion cautions and 50 cars torn up, people just aren't happy with the racing at this track.
Yeah, that does seem to be the case. And I think it's because it's a short track. I think if it wasn't a short track, people would be happy with, more or less, I don't want to say caution-free races, but, less caution-filled, we should say. But it's just a victim of its own historical success. And everybody wants it to be like the Daytona Talladega of short tracks. But the drivers don't want it to be that. It's not like at any point in history any drivers came into Bristol and said, "You know what? I'm going to cause a big one."
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go in and tear their stuff up. It happens. And drivers get more cerebral, they have more information coming in. And so cautions have gone down. And just think about like the economy as a whole. Teams at some point do have to probably say, like, don't put yourself in dumb situations.
Well, they got to pay for these things, and it's not like things economically are getting any better, given a certain strait we're not going to talk about.
And it's not like the old days where it's all sheet metal and you just take it back to the shop and bang it out the best you can. These pieces are one accident and it's a scrap front fascia and everything's scrapped after one race. Any damage, it's gone. And that's expensive. And so to a degree, I mean, these drivers do take care of their cars. They have a lot to think about, because parts aren't just infinitely reusable if they aren't damaged bad enough.
Yeah, and the other issue the thing that we have is there's no more win in you're in, so there's not guys knocking each other out of the way. And as you said, these drivers are smart. So they're having a wrangle with this car. And another thing that they're struggling with is this car just doesn't like short tracks for whatever reason. There's not a lot of grip in the corner, which on a short track, you desperately need to get out of the corner, and this car has not been good at it. When they had the lower horsepower, everybody was just downshifting and just rolling through the corner without any trouble. Now the problem is you're constantly fighting for grip because with these low-profile tires, the margin for error of being in the window of the tire and being too tight or too loose, I think, on Sunday, the issue was, for a lot of guys, the car was too tight. That window is very tiny. So most of the guys are spending the time fighting the car and not actually racing the car. And that's going to magnify itself on a shorter track like Bristol and what we've seen in Martinsville.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, this car was also, when it was developed, I think the thing that they targeted the most was intermediate tracks. They, this car, and it's just, we went through, the previous generation was good on short tracks. I think for
It
the
was
most,
great on short
yeah.
tracks.
And so, but everybody complained because our schedule is filled with intermediate tracks. That's, 20 some races out of a 36 race schedule is an intermediate track. And so they developed the car around that. And naturally, you lose the efficacy on other racetracks. So I really don't know if there is anything they can do short of coming out with like a B spec car that's a little bit different, but that's a whole nother argument in and of itself. And so I think just from kind of where we are with this current generation of car, we're probably just going to have to endure less than ideal short track racing.
And it's unfortunate. And I think really ever since we moved to the COT platform and on, Bristol has suffered in some way or another.
Yeah.
It was a perfect track for Gen 4. For whatever reason, the geometry with the next gen car, back when it was called the car of tomorrow, now the Gen 5 car just did not gel with Bristol. We got some of that back with the Gen 6. Now with the next gen, we're back to the COT level of racing, depending on who you talk to. It's difficult because you're trying to balance a car for 4 different types of tracks. And right now, it's good on intermediates. The car is not as bad on road courses as people say it. You're just used to when NASCAR ran a road course car that sucked on road courses.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing with road courses. This car is actually kind of built for road courses, and it shows.
Yeah.
Super speedways, again, they are nowhere near as bad as people make it out to be. And then you have short tracks where we have all the problems.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you fix that, because when you go to fix the car for short tracks, you might ruin the racing for intermediates. It's a very difficult ball to juggle when you are designing a car where you race on so many different types of racetrack.
Yeah. That kind of goes back to what I was saying, was that short track racing was good, but with the old generation car, but intermediate racing was terrible. And so they just designed the car around what fans were asking for. And you really can't have your cake and eat it too. This car does good with intermediates. It does pretty good with road courses, but its weak spot is short tracks. And it doesn't matter how many horsepower you put in that car. You could put 1,000, you could put 1,500. That'd be ridiculous, obviously, but horsepower, I mean, it means nothing without context. What's the delivery system look like? You could put 1,000 horsepower in these cars, but at Martinsville, what does 1,000 horsepower get you? You just fishtail every corner and burn up your tires in 10 laps. It really, it just comes down to setup tweaks. And, NASCAR is heavy. These cars weigh a lot. So maybe you start looking at weight reduction. Maybe you work on decreasing the size. That was one of the biggest complaints that people had about Formula One cars, was that these cars are massive. And so what did they do with the new regulation? They brought the weight down. They brought the size down. They really missed with the engine configuration, but that's another discussion that we have every week. We'll have it in about 25 minutes. I think with NASCAR, maybe an option they consider for the next generation of car is maybe downsizing it. Because I understand that there's production size and they want these to be stock cars, but these are bigger than stock cars. Look up wheelbases, look up overall width and length, not just wheel length, but They have the flared out sides. They have body work. These are not stock cars in the same way that a supercar is a stock car. And so maybe we start looking at weight reduction, and maybe that helps out overall. And just narrowing these cars and making them lighter. I think that'd be a big help.
I think the other thing you need more. I think they need to go to a wider tire. I think the size is fine, but you've got to get away from the low profile tire and get back to a standard width. But I don't know if that'll fit in these wheel wells the way they have them now. So
probably not, realistically.
That's probably gonna have to take another generation of car. But I think the low profile tires are great for looks, but I think it's made the racing to where it's too narrow of an edge to really get the grip to where you can get guys racing each other. And I think we're in a situation where they're just fighting it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. A wider tire would be intriguing to see what it does. I certainly wouldn't be opposed to it.
Hey, good evening, Freddie B. He's joining us over on the Twitter. Make sure you get your comments in during the show. We will read them as we go along on the show tonight.
Freddie's getting ready for Long Beach.
Yep. And Larry B just joined us on YouTube. Zero grip. I couldn't agree more. Great point. That's been a complaint of a lot. Really, the last two races, no grip at Martinsville and Bristol. And that's something that we wanted them to have less grip. Well, now you see what it does.
Yeah. Less grip does not mean faster.
Yeah.
Loose is fast. It's only as fast as you have grip for.
And we'll see how that goes. We're going back to Kansas, one of the best intermediate tracks in the next gen era. It's really where the next gen car made it, or I'm just gonna call it Gen 7 now. It's where the Gen 7 car really won a lot of people over. Yeah. Kansas has been a great race the last couple of years.
I do think you have a little. I think you have a little bias because it's a favorite of your favorite driver.
I mean, my favorite driver did get his second career win there.
So
and it is where my favorite team got its first win. So
Bowman,
we got screwed by our team owner last year. But I don't want to talk about that.
Bowman won at Kansas too. Yeah. So it does have a special place in my heart as well.
Hopefully he doesn't get concussed again. And
oh yeah, I forgot. I didn't even put on the show notes Bowman's back. I forgot about that. It was a day to forget. P30. Yeah.
Well, he got involved in a wreck of really not his own making. Shane Van Gisbergen and I think Connor Zilic also got involved in that as well.
It wasn't Zilic. It was who's in the 34.
That would have been McDowell.
No, it's not McDowell. It's Nemechek.
Todd Gilliland. It was Todd Gilliland. Nemechek hasn't been in that car in a while.
Okay. Yeah. So Gilliland, yeah, got up. Gisbergen got loose. Gilliland went up the track and just crossed Bowman's nose, put him into the wall.
And that kind of dovetails us into our next conversation, which is we are now 8 races into the season. First quarter is over. Now is a good time to head over to NASCAR.com, check out the NASCAR Cup Series standings, and see who's hot and who's not after the 8 races so far this season. We can start with the low-hanging fruit of who's hot, and that would be Tyler Reddick. He's won half the races to start the year. 6 top 10s, 5 top 5s. Kind of cooled off in recent weeks, but still a 62-point lead over the rest of the field going into Kansas. It is go time for the driver that didn't even record a win last season.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's has been what I would say is a career year. Mm-hmm. And Toyotas as a whole just that you just really got to hand it to that Toyota program this year, because they've come out swinging and they have been relentless.
They've got 5 in the top 10 right now in the points. Denny Hamlin, Ty Gibbs, 3rd and 4th. Ty moves up 2 spots after his win. Bubba Wallace, who was 3rd in the points, dropped as far as 11th after a horrible 2 weeks. He's now up to 8th. Christopher Bell dropped a couple of points to the 9th spot. But Toyota as a brand, they had a great start to this year. On the other side, Chevrolet on the manufacturer side, still trying to come to grips with that new Camaro body, and you can see it because Hendrick Motorsports, they've run well, but I feel like by their standards, it's been a cold start to the year.
There we go. I'm unmuted now. Don't say something like that on Twitter, because people will absolutely come after you. I made the mistake of saying that, and I had 40 people blowing me up talking about how ridiculous that was.
I mean, let's look at it, though. In 8 races, we're not going to put Bowman in there because he was injured. They have 1 win combined. They have 9 top 5s. And they have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 top 10s between the 3 cars that have run all 8 races with the same driver.
Yeah.
For Hendrick Motorsports, that is a down year. We're used to seeing those guys have multiple wins by now.
That's a heads roll type of year.
Yeah. Like, that's great for any other team. For Hendrick, somebody's getting fired. And they've been struggling with the front. They've been out front and said, yeah, we've been struggling with the nose, but they also haven't been closing races. Kyle Larson should have 2 or 3 races won this year, and he hasn't converted. We saw on Sunday, could not convert after dominating at Bristol. Led a huge portion of that race and couldn't get it done. But William Byron is one that surprises me. I'm shocked to see him as high on the points as he's been, because he has been almost invisible this year.
Yeah, and again, don't say something like that on X, because people will absolutely hold you to the flames over saying something like that. But you're right. William Byron, 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s, a DNF. He's only led 34 laps this year compared to, you take Kyle Larson, 421, Denny Hamlin, 444. I mean, William Byron has been a non-factor this year. And when you compare that against, years previous, I would say like probably the last 3 years, I feel like is when he really came into his own. He's having a bad year. Like, there's no other way to put it.
It hasn't been a great year for him. I mean, last year, and this is at the ending of the stats, he had 3 wins, 11 top 5s, 16 top 10s, and 3 poles in the Cup Series competition. He's only got about a quarter of, he's got about maybe not a third. He's nowhere near equaling that total if you project out to all 36 the way it's going right now. And he's got the least laps led right now with 34 since, and I'm having to go back here, and this might be his lowest total ever led laps to this point, 34 laps.
Realistically, it probably is.
Yeah. And it's clearly going to go higher as the year goes on, but I don't think he's going to get to that 2023 number where he had over 1,000 laps led and would have won the championship if it wasn't for the playoffs, which you don't have to deal with anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we go further down the list. Brad Keselowski has been close to a win, no cigar this year in 11th. I am surprised Joey Logano's 12th in points. I feel like every other week he's getting lapped. It has not been a good year for that 22 at all.
No, it really has not. And really, he used to be the heart and soul of that team, but that Penske has rallied around Blaney the last couple of years.
Mhm.
And I mean, is it a natural, I don't want to say passing of the torch, but Logano's been here forever, but he also joined when he was 18. So his forever is, yeah. 23 is on an absolute roll.
They're on an absolute tear right now.
That goes back to what I was saying about just Toyota as a whole. They have been relentless.
We go down the comments, and we mentioned Chevy already. Again, Trackhouse, Shaman Gisberg and Ross Chastain, not a great year. Connor Zilic, 33rd in points. I would not have guessed that going into this at the start of the year. He got involved in a couple of wrecks, not of his own making, at the first two super speedway races, but the acclimation to the Cup car, we knew it was going to be tough, and we're seeing that with Connor Zilic, only 33rd in points.
Yeah, but that kid's talented.
Yeah,
he's not going to be there. He might not have the best year this year, but he will be a future championship contender.
I will be shocked in future years if we're not talking about him winning a championship. He is
Correct.
that good.
He really is. He's, going back to Xfinity. I mean, who did we talk about? I would say he's probably the most hyped person to come out of Xfinity since probably Christopher Bell.
Yeah.
Maybe Tyler Reddick, because Reddick was between Bell and Zilic, but even then, I don't think Tyler Reddick had quite the same hype about him that Zilic has had.
He did not have the juice that Zilic has right now. Zilic is pretty much seen as the heir apparent there at Trackhouse. I think he's going to be a top driver going on for the next 10 to 15 years. And I think he's got that talent. It's just the growing pains of this first year. On the other side, though, of that coin, you look at a driver like Austin Dillon, who's been here a while, just no traction with that team right now, 27th in points. Kyle Busch, slightly better, 24th. You hear on the radio, it's a crash out a week from the crew chief.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever RCR came into the season with to try to run with these new Camaro bodies, it's not working.
No.
And unfortunately, this has been a team that's been on a long-term skid for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, they had some success Kyle Busch's first year there, but since then they've been nowhere. And I think maybe we are talking about hard reset territory at RCR. RCR needs to change something, and I know that there would be some flack for it, but I know it doesn't fall on the drivers, but you need to give your fans something to get excited about. It's time for a new driver lineup.
Well, I think Kyle Busch is about ready to go.
I would be surprised if he doesn't call it at the end of the year, because I don't think he's not under contract next year.
And he doesn't have anything to prove. And right now, he's just waiting for Brexton to get old enough to drive a truck. He's been very clear. Once Brexton is old enough to drive a truck, he's driving a full season in trucks with his son, and then he's calling it a career.
Yep.
And I think he's just going to go run trucks for a bit until Brexton gets old enough, and then call it a career. Because I don't see him running another Cup season if it's going to be like this. And Austin Dillon.
See, I think Kyle Busch would have the time of his life. He's got all the money he'll ever need. Mm-hmm. Go run IMSA for a season. He's ran the Rolex 24, and he had success with Sullivan. Just go run it for 1 year. It's only a handful of races, and that fulfills your racing. But I think IMSA's overall more fun than NASCAR, realistically. Just go have fun. That's why I don't get these drivers. He's going to stick around here for what? Go do something you like.
He's won over 200 races overall. He's got the championships in all 3 divisions. No, I don't think he won it. He won a truck championships. I think he has the championships in all 3.
I think so.
Divisions at this point. There's nothing else to prove.
No.
Meanwhile, Austin Dillon, what can we say about him that hasn't already been said? We know why he's in that car. We know why he's running that number. And it ain't on success.
No.
And the less said about that, the better.
He's won a handful of races. So.
Only one of them on merit. But
yeah, I wasn't going to say anything like that, but yeah. It was like,
look,
that
I'll
was
stir
like
that pot.
That was like Texas, right?
Oh, it was, he tried to kill Almirola at Daytona. That BS Texas race where the tires didn't wear. Attempted vehicular manslaughter at Richmond 2 years ago. And then he won that race on merit last season because apparently Richmond is the only place where they have good cars.
Was it Richmond?
Yeah. That was where he put Logano in the wall. Because he knocked Hamlin out. He knocked Logano out the way. Then Hamlin was about to win the race, and he just turns right and spears him into the wall. And that kind of what started our playoff discussion.
Yeah.
So we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get into the Formula One off-week discussion and the supercars in Taupo and the right way to talk about the weather. We'll discuss that on the other side of this break here on Apex Asphalt and IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clinking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
And we're back here on Apex to Asphalt on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And we're going to get into the Formula One Week 2 Scuttlebutt conversation as we are waiting desperately for racing to come back in Miami thanks to current situations in the Middle East. Racing is kind of on a hiatus right now. And we will start the conversation with Pierre Wache. He has not been fired. He is, in fact, still employed in Red Bull and seems to have backing of the board. However, Craig Skinner has resigned from his position as chief designer at Red Bull Racing, effective immediately on February 17th.
You skipped a little bit of the notes there.
Yeah. Oh, yes. It was making the ramp.
You skipped the dramatic effect.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, we're up against it. I'm trying to get us under time. Unfortunately, our NASCAR conversation ran a little bit long, but we can assume that with Wache's name being in the news, Skinner was dragged back up to get clicks and engagement, of course. Since the reason for the departure was publicly stated as a fundamental disagreement with Wache, Skinner has been gone for 2 months now. This is not breaking news.
Yes.
They're mad at each other, or not really mad at each other. It's just business.
Yeah, I clicked on X one day and saw that Craig Skinner was trending. And I'm like, the same Craig Skinner that resigned before the season started? Turns out it was.
Yeah.
Just a couple accounts like dragged up these old tweets and then it went like wildfire.
I mean, we're bored, so we need something to do.
Yeah.
We touched on this next one a little bit last week. Jean-Pierre Lambias. I butchered his last name. I'm just going to call him GP from now on. Red Bull fans did have to endure a shocking announcement last week as GP announced he will be leaving Red Bull to join McLaren in 2027.
No, 2028.
Or 2028. Why that was announced last week, I have no idea. It was a premature announcement as GP is currently under contract, as we said, through 2027. But McLaren announced it in a press release that read like the recounting of a Revolutionary War firing squad taking out a group of prisoners than it did a modern corporate press release. As McLaren listed off the names of Red Bull employees it has poached from the team in recent years. For reasons known only to McLaren, they did that.
Yeah, it was a very interesting thing. They talked about recruiting top talent over the years and named like 5 high-ranking Red Bull people that they've poached from the team, and that's the only people they named. So it was clearly a shot.
Yeah, apparently the war of words between those teams is continuing now into the press releases. This has brought up a question.
I was just going to say, it's strange because Horner's gone. So what do they, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Laurent Mekies is not making enemies with anybody. So like, why did Zach Brown feel the need to have this crazy shot to take at Red Bull? Like all the people that everybody despised are gone.
Like the bad man can't hurt you anymore. Why are y'all still having this beef?
Well, not with Red Bull. But I think his non-compete expired this week, so he's a free agent.
Yeah. It's weird. It just is. And it brought up the question of whether or not this is an attempt by Zach Brown to lure Max Verstappen in 2028. And I've been on record on this show. I think it's more likely that Verstappen leaves Formula One entirely before he goes to another team.
Correct.
I just don't see it happening.
Like, I don't remember whether I texted it to you or if I said it on the show last week, but Max is, when he leaves Red Bull, I think he's going to do it on good terms because Red Bull is going to invest heavily into his GT3 career.
They already have.
Well, no, I'm saying, but they will be the long term. He's taking that unlimited budget with him.
Oh, yeah. That GT3 team is going to be one of the best GT3 teams in the world once he leaves Formula One.
Yeah.
But he's not leaving that team.
I think he is leaving with Red Bull footing the bill for any endeavor he wants to do racing for the rest of his career, whereas he is not going to get that from anybody else.
Yeah. And I think with the history he's had there and the championships and everything, I don't think he's going to. He's not the type of guy to go chase the sport somewhere else or chase the win somewhere else. He feels like to me he just wants to stay there or not at all. And right now he hates these rules. So why would he go to another team in a rule set he hates?
Yep. And before anybody says it's because he's bitching and moaning about losing, the biggest adversary to sprint races has also won over 50% of them.
Yeah.
Nobody talks worse about sprint races than the guy who at one point had won like 15 out of 16 of them. So I don't think it has anything to do with performance. He just really wants things his way, which I can respect.
And I think the thing going forward is when people say, well, he's just saying that because he sucks. Literally everyone but Mercedes hates these rules.
Yes.
The only team that has said anything remotely positive is Mercedes. Everyone else hates it.
Yeah. Even Lando Norris, who told Max Verstappen to go retire, has now said he doesn't like these rules.
Well, maybe he'll go retire.
I think Lando's is performance-based.
Yeah. Lando's, I think, is performance-based. Everybody else is like, this sucks.
Yeah.
So. And now while we have a break, actually, it's not the ADO review time. Last week, we did mention that there was a meeting with the FIA on a potential fix for the rules situation. Chris, why don't you take us through how that meeting went and the next key dates that we need to look out for?
Yeah, so we really did not get much out of this meeting. We just got 5 or 6 paragraphs in a press release by the FIA. They described the meeting as productive. They acknowledged safety issues and there's flaws with the current set of regulation. Stakeholders have agreed to make tweaks to the 2026 regulations, but those are to be determined over the next 2 weeks. So the dates to take note of are 2 of them are this week. April 15th is a sporting regulations meeting to, quote, align rule wording with technical changes. And then April 16th is a follow-up technical session. And then next week on April 20th, which I believe is Monday, is a, quote, decisive high-level meeting with team principals and stakeholders to vote on final proposed options. So
we do not know what those options are, but if anything leaks out, we will update you on Twitter as developments arise. It's going to be crucial that they have something going into Miami because this season cannot continue the way it's been.
Correct. And who knows how long it would take to propose to implement these changes, but they are needed and necessary and as soon as possible.
So speaking of changes, we've got ADU changes coming up for engines, and we've got some projections from Formula Data Analysis at F Data Analysis on Twitter/X. Give them a follow. They do a lot of work, a lot of good work in crunching the numbers of what's going on in our sport. Here is how the ADU projections look like. Mercedes is the benchmark at 576 horsepower. So clearly they will not get any tokens to develop their engine. Teams with horsepower between 553 and 564 horsepower would get 1 token. Teams below 552 equal to or below, 552 horsepower would be eligible for stage 2, which is the maximum. So Red Bull powertrains, unfortunately, Chris, they're not going to get any ADU as they are 565 horsepower, just 1 HP off the max.
Go figure. I told you this. I said this 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was last week.
Yes.
That Red Bull Powertrains has the second most powerful engine on the grid. They think that it is 0.2 better than Ferrari, but their chassis and aero design is worth like negative 0.9 tenths.
Yeah.
Or sorry, negative 9 tenths, because 9 tenths is already a fraction. So that was, but yeah, so overall tracking to Ferrari, they are 7/10 a lap slower.
If they ever get that chassis worked out this year, they are going to be quick.
They won't. They've already said that there'll be a new spec car next year.
Jeez.
They
So-
think they are thinking they're going to get it down 5 kilograms this week, or sorry, not this week, but for Miami, and then they think they can get it down to about 8 kilograms overweight for the rest of the year, but they will have to do a fundamental redesign for 27 to get underweight.
So Ferrari is projected to be producing about 546 horsepower, which would make them eligible for the Stage 2 ADU updates. I am surprised that Ferrari is that slow. But as we talked about last week, they did go with a smaller turbo. They got the acceleration, but they don't have the top end speed. But I'm surprised their engine is that far down. But maybe it's because the starts are kind of masking where they are performance-wise. Audi is 540.
They could have had to have sacrificed performance for starts too.
Yes. And I think now they're going to try to build in some more of that performance. Now they get those additional development and upgrade opportunities. Everybody else on this list is eligible for Stage 2 if these numbers are accurate. Audi, our new engine manufacturer, has 545, and Honda, and we've seen the issues with Honda this year, 519 horsepower, by far slowest on the grid. They would get Stage 2. I think what they want to do is just get the vibrations down so they're not causing nerve damage to their drivers.
Yeah, and it sounds like Honda is fighting them back on saying that it's our fault for the vibration. So
there's some he said, she said there.
Yep. And it's really hard to know who to trust because they obviously are both pointing the finger at each other, and maybe it's realistically both of them.
Yeah. Speaking of pointing the fingers at each other, Mr.
and Aston Martin.
Yeah. Lance Stroll was in the GT World Challenge race at Circuit Paul Ricard this weekend. That race had an awesome four-wide battle. I don't know if you saw the video of that on motorsport.com on the Facebook, but one of the Mercedes got off the track, got onto the rumble strips, and actually did a little jump while four wide. You saw the front end of the car shoot up. How that wasn't a wreck, I have no idea. GT3s at Paul Ricard, awesome. What was not awesome is what I'm about to read to you from Oversteer 48 on what happened. I'm only going to read the particulars.
I miss Formula One at Paul Ricard, by the way.
I think that makes one of us. Lance Stroll qualified, their car qualified P17, or he qualified personally P17 in the Aston Martin Vantage Comptuo GT3 racing team car. It started P19 because of the average qualifying time rule they use in GT World Challenge. Lance then had two penalties totaling 175 seconds. A 60-second time penalty for ignoring blue flags, 115 for exceeding track limits. His teammates Roberto Meri and Mari Boya did not do well either. Boya had a stop-and-go penalty. Meri had a 150-second time penalty for ignoring blue flags and a 105-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. So with all the penalties, the team finishes 48th out of 49 cars. Lance Stroll had 175 seconds worth of time penalties, and they finished 13 laps down to the leaders. Disaster.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say at this point when it comes to Lance Stroll and his abilities as a race car driver. Of course, as you know, I'm one to stir the pot. somebody in Facebook said people need to get over it because Lance Stroll was a rookie. And I pointed out Max Verstappen was a rookie in GT3 too. And he won his first race. So I don't want to hear it.
Technically a second too, if you discount the penalty.
Yeah, that was a nonsense penalty. I'm sorry. I don't know how you make that mistake with the tires, but
your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, somebody needs to learn how to count over there.
And you only need to count to 7.
Yeah,
it's not even like it's that hard.
So Lance did not have a good year. I think Lance needs to find something else to do because I don't think racing is it.
Yep.
So we're gonna wrap up.
Go to business school.
Yeah, maybe he can do something with that. But we're gonna shift gears now to supercars as we get to wind down the show now with Cyclone Vianu that came in over the weekend and threw a monkey wrench into some of the plans for the racing. Cyclone Vianu was the equivalent of a Category 3 hurricane here in the United States. One remote weather station reported 13 inches of rain on Sunday in New Zealand. But in the Bay of Plenty, where Taupo is, rainfall was recorded at just shy of 8 inches. As of reporting, no reported deaths. Thousands are without power and hundreds have been displaced by the flooding. Keep in mind, though, it is 16-hour time difference. Cleanup efforts only began a few hours ago on Tuesday, their time, as the region had more rain throughout Monday.
Yeah, it's noon there right now on Tuesday.
So Whakatane, spelled Whakatane, for those keeping score at home. Deputy Mayor Julie Jukes said it best when she said, "This is not the storm we were preparing for yesterday. It was worse." Whakatane was one of the towns hit hardest by Vianu. Why are New Zealand names so weird to pronounce?
Because they have like tribal indigenous names.
Good point.
So that is where a lot of these names come from.
I withdraw my
cultural names.
Yeah, I will withdraw my outburst then. So how did Supercars deal with this? Well, they did not hesitate to change the schedule because as soon as Thursday, they were already making updates. Or Thursday, our time, they were already making updates. The original schedule had 220-kilometer races on Saturday with the 200-kilometer feature race, as they would call it in Formula One, held on Sunday. That schedule got revised on Thursday, our time, to the first 120-kilometer race on Saturday going ahead, while the second was switched with the 200-kilometer race on Sunday. Or sorry, that race was run on Saturday instead, while the second 120-kilometer race would have been run on Sunday. The revision was made that if Sunday got rained out, they would run that race on Friday at Christchurch. Saturday morning, they went ahead and canceled all of the on-track running for Sunday as it became very clear this storm was going to be serious. The timely announcement got fans out of the area well before the storm came in and also prepared the teams to pack up as soon as the races ended so they could get out of the area as quickly as possible. All Sunday-only general admission ticket holders were invited to use their tickets on Saturday, and Sunday pit walk pass holders were also able to use their passes on Saturday. So, how does that work for this week's coming schedule? On Friday, a 120-kilometer sprint race will take place at Christchurch, and that means they'll be racing 4 races in 3 days at Christchurch. Those teams are going to be tired, but Repco Supercars did a great job in handling this.
Absolutely. They defined prepare for the worst, hope for the best. Mm-hmm. They got out ahead of this days in advance. They revised the schedule. And they even made the schedule so that they could sneak in a race on Friday before the Christchurch Super 440. So I think it was genius the way that they did it. And then, we can criticize them and say they should have canceled Sunday earlier. But at the same time, it actually did change paths kind of last minute. And it actually didn't make landfall where they expected it to.
Yeah.
So they weren't far off in waiting. And so I think canceling it on Saturday morning was the right thing. They knew, okay, it's unavoidable. We're going to cancel it as quick as possible. And then they're in the process of doing right by the fans. Obviously, the last thing people are really worried about at this exact moment is their refund. There's obviously some higher priority things people are taking care of right now. So, but they're going to make it right with fans. And it kind of reminded me of Spa just 3 years ago with Formula One. We're talking, at Spa, they went out and ran 2 yellow flag laps so that they didn't have to return money. And that was ridiculous.
I hate that they did that. And then we've had the conversations in NASCAR where they know a torrential storm is coming, so they'll move the race up 15 minutes thinking that'll change it.
Yeah.
And it never does.
They would rather reschedule the Monday afternoon than move it ahead 2 hours on Sunday.
Yeah. Repco Supercars, I think they set the gold standard this weekend. And this was a storm that we haven't heard as of now if there's any lives lost. We will keep an eye on it as things progress as we head towards Christchurch. But kudos to Supercars for a fantastic job of handling what was a fluid weather situation.
Yeah.
So we'll go from there to talking about the actual racing, and the big story with Supercars was this entire season is how would Toyota acclimate to running in Supercars, and they've hit the ground running, and in their 9th race, they get their first win as Ryan Wood completes the Toyota first fill-in-the-blank sweep. Coming into, so you got the first top 10, top 5, podium, and pole position in qualifying, and now has the first top 10, top 5, podium, and race win for Toyota in Supercars. And Chris texted me today that they did do a parity study with all 3 cars. The Toyota is right in line with everybody else, so this win was on merit. It's a great job by that team, and we talked about it. They had the race pace. They just needed to get the car to be faster on the 1-lap pace. They got that because Ryan Wood got the pole for race 9, and he didn't look back.
Yeah, and he, as we kind of went over the stats there a minute ago, he's been the gold standard for Toyota this year. And I was actually just reading that Chevrolet is doing a parity push, and so Will Brown has actually been vocal against it. Mm-hmm. Because Chevrolet has not had a good year at all this year. They started out really strong in Sydney. I don't know if you remember, but the boys at, who was it? It wasn't Matt Stone. Was it Matt Stone? Yeah, it was Matt Stone.
Yes.
I mean, they looked unbeatable at Sydney, and then those cars have just faded into oblivion as, Brody Kostecki, Brock Feeney, Ryan Wood, as these other teams have kind of gotten back to where they're supposed to be. Matt Stone's kind of faded back. But no, I mean, I had said on the show that I expected Toyota to pick up a race win in the Sprint Cup, but I was thinking it'd probably be more like Townsville in July. That's kind of, I figured it would take a few more races to really get the car dialed in, but I mean, you're talking 9 races in and they got their win. That's incredible.
Yeah, Ryan Wood is really dialed in with his Toyota platform. Our defending champion, Chaz Mostert, he's been competitive, but definitely not to last year's standard. Meanwhile, for Chevy, Anton DePasquale, he got that early win that you talked about at Sydney, where he looked utterly dominant, and that team has done nothing since. The Chevy platform as a whole is just down right now.
Yeah, and they did wind tunnel testing, and all three cars, which means Chevrolet, Ford, and Toyota, were matched in total downforce, but not in balance. So GM wants that corrected, apparently. So, but as Will Brown, who's a champion for 888, he said this is going to be controversial, but you can't just give GM a leg up because the teams or the drivers aren't doing as good of a job right now.
Yeah, see, I'll push back on that because 2 years ago, Ford threatened to leave the sport entirely if they didn't get a parity adjustment.
Yeah.
So I really don't want to hear that out of Will Brown right now, now that you're over in Ford.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, you got to remember, they switched this year.
Yeah. Like, dude, when y'all were kicking Ford's ass a few years ago, they threatened to leave the sport because of you.
Yeah, well, I mean, 888 is just is a phenomenal homologation team to have. If you are in Repco Supercars, you want 888 as your homologation team.
Yeah.
And so GM enjoyed years of success because of T8, but now they've switched to Ford, and Ford is just absolutely dominating the top 10 in the standings right now. And GM, I don't think GM has a car in the top 10 for the point standings right now, but I'm going to pop over and check that right now.
Anton DePasquale is 6th and Jack LeBrock is 8th. Those are their only two cars in the top 10. They've
hung in there, huh?
Yeah. Their next highest car is David Reynolds in 13th.
Yep.
Jay Nojeda 16th, Declan Frazier 19th, Zach Bates 21st, Cooper Murray and Jobe Stewart.
Yeah.
The Erebus cars round out the field right now.
Yeah.
But
which Erebus was called out specifically by Will Brown.
Yeah, it hasn't been a great year for Erebus to start the year. But no, they'll have to make a parity adjustment, and Will Brown's just going to have to deal with it. I mean, you guys are the gold standard team in supercars, so you don't really get to play the violin and say the sport's being unfair to us.
Yeah, I mean, Will Brown's sitting back in 9th in the standings, and he's probably never been that low in his career.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Brody Kostecki had a turbulent couple of years, but he's back. You know, he's got 4 wins so far this year, and he's leading the Sprint Cup standings.
Yeah, but I don't know if I popped on and I was looking at the standings, and I was like, wow, he's only got a 19-point lead over Brock Feeney right now. And it's because Brody Kostecki had a day to forget with that 200-kilometer race. And so that pays out a lot more points. So Brock Feeney I think Brock Feeney got like a 90-point advantage over him in that 200-kilometer race.
Mm-hmm.
So that really tightened up that. And that just goes to tell you what the points packages are like as well. So when they run a 200-kilometer race, I mean, the winner is pulling in 100 and give me just 1 second and I can tell you.
Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to make both of us feel old. Brody was born in 1997.
Hold on, what?
Said Brody Kostecki was born in 1997.
Yeah.
So.
Ryan Wood is born in 04.
Don't say that.
Or sorry, 03. I lied.
That doesn't make it better. Surprisingly.
But so in the 200-kilometer race, first place picks up 104 points. Brock Feeney finished second with 134, and then you got to jump down to 6th place. Brody Kostecki got 90. So I was wrong. Brock got like 50 points, 40 something on Brody, but yeah, I mean, it's strange, but you've got Ford in the top three positions, or sorry, the top four positions. And then you got two Toyotas, two Chevrolets, and then you got another four Fords. So, definitely probably need a parity adjustment at some point.
Yeah.
Sorry, Will Brown. I like your team, but I have to disagree with you.
So, next up for supercars, the ITM Christchurch Super 440 is this weekend, plus the additional 120-kilometer sprint on Friday. So, get ready to wreck your sleep schedules this weekend.
And by Friday, we do mean Thursday in the middle of the night here in the U.S.
Yeah, so Thursday our time, Friday their time. Remember, Thursday here equals Friday there, Friday here equals Saturday there, and Saturday here equals Sunday there.
And
keep up.
In the dead of the night too. That's also what that means. Yeah. It's not Thursday at 6 while you're eating supper. No, it's Thursday it's Friday at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And then now Darryl just depressed me. Give me my 13th reason.
Well, we're going to take a month off break after this. That seems to be the theme for the start of this year. And we will not see them back until May 22nd and the 24th.
My birthday is the 21st, which does mean that they will be back on track on my birthday.
Yep, and my soon-to-be wife's birthday is the 25th.
So, Brock Feeney, if you are listening, please win on my birthday.
So now we are coming in for a landing, and it is time for the Driver of the Week segment, where Chris and I are both going to nominate our driver or rider of the week. And sometimes someone is so standout that we have no choice but to agree. But most of the time, we end up training paid on this. So, Chris, who stood out to you this week?
Well, we just finished talking about him. My driver is Ryan Wood of Walkinshaw TWG Racing. Who you got, Darryl?
Well, I love Ryan Wood. I love that he got the first win for my manufacturer, Toyota, in the supercars this year. But he wasn't even the best driver behind the wheel of a Toyota last weekend, much less driver of the week. I think the real driver of the week was Ty Gibbs in the Cup Series.
I have respect for that. Yeah. But, I mean, Ryan Wood's achievement was spectacular. Toyota, we talked about it earlier, Toyota's won most of the races this year in NASCAR, but Ryan Wood delivered Toyota's first pole, and he converted that to Toyota's first race win.
Hey, like I said, it's impressive. I love what he's done there. He's really gelled with that Supra platform. But you can't deny Ty Gibbs, who's been knocking on the door so many times in Cup, to winning his first race, finally breaking through. And he had to do it the hard way. Over 100 lap old tires, defending champion Ryan Blaney behind him to the outside. Kyle Larson, defending two-time champion, to his inside on better tires. Tyler Reddick challenged him at one point. It was a literal photo finish to take the win. I think Ty Gibbs had more to deal with to get his win, and that's why I think he's driver of the week.
It was a phenomenal finish. I will give you that. Mm-hmm. He qualified well, ran good all day, but he only led the final 25 laps, Darryl. Mm-hmm. Ryan Wood qualified on pole. He also had to defend against his teammate and defending series champion, Chaz Mostert. You got to give it to Ryan Wood.
Well, white flag is waving. We get one more rebuttal because I think this could go on indefinitely. I think we got some strong points for our drivers of the week. Ty Gibbs, as I said, got it done. 105 lap old tires. Had two defending series champions chasing him down, and the championship leader breathing down his neck at one point. Won the race by 55 one-thousandths of a second. The only thing that would have made it better is if the win was 54 one-thousandths of a second. Given his card number, I think Gibbs is the driver of the week.
Look, Ryan Wood didn't just beat the field. He established that Supra has a place here in Supercars, Supra and Toyota. He's the first to qualify top 10, top 5, top 3, and the pole. He's the first to finish a race in the top 10, the top 5, the top 3, and get a race win. Ryan Wood has been the shining star for Toyota and just a dominant masterclass win in front of his home crowd. Ryan Wood has to be your driver of the week.
So unfortunately, that's going to be the checkered flag on this debate, and it's just about time to get out of here. During this week, let us know who your driver of the week was on Twitter and YouTube, and we will talk about it on Twitter this week, and maybe we'll bring it up next week as we get ready for our next driver of the week discussions. But it's about time to get out of here. But first, let's open up the calendar and let you know where the races are going this weekend. Supercars, as we said, the ITM Christchurch Super 440 plus the Race 10 carryover from Taupo will be during the dead of night on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday this week. Check that out on YouTube. You need the SuperView subscription, $6.99 per month. Make sure you check that out. Supercross, it's a Triple Crown weekend in Cleveland. That gets started at 3 p.m. on Peacock. The IndyCar Series will take on the Concrete Canyon of Long Beach at 5:30 p.m. on Fox. IMSA will have its shortest race of the year in SoCal for the Acura GP of Long Beach at 4 p.m. on NBC and Peacock. And the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and Cup Series will head to the Midwest in Kansas. ORAP gets us running at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the CW, and the Cup Series race will be 2 p.m. on Fox. So I thank everyone for listening. Chris, tell them what to do before we get out of here.
Praise Rory McIlroy, who went back-to-back with the Masters this week. This past week, forgot to mention that. I love the Masters. It is like my favorite non-racing event of the year. I really clear my schedule for it. So, out of respect to the Masters, I'm going to close out with another golf commentary. Good night. I hope everybody has a great week. And before you go to bed tonight, just make sure, get those teeth brushed.
You guys have a good one. We will see you next week for another Apex to Asphalt. Have a good one. We will see you next time. Good night, everybody.